Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Football Preview Show. My name is Ethan McDowell. I am your host, and I am joined, as I always am, by Noah Fleischman. We are back for another episode of our football preview series over on the Wolfpacker.com. If you're not familiar with what we're doing right now over on our website, we're breaking it NC State's football team down by position. We're devoting, half of a week to each position group as we get into the run up to fall camp. I was informed that fall camp starts in July this year, July 31st. So we are less than a month away from the unofficial official start of football season. It snuck up on me, Noah. I think baseball going on such a long run kind of threw off my athletic calendar a little bit. But man, it's July or not even all of July now, and then we're right back into it with football and man, it's an exciting time to be following the Wolfpack and everything to do with NC State. And if you're like all of us, we've been trying to keep track of everything going on with NC State. I'm trying to chronicle it over on the Wolfpacker.com. Right now, you can join the Wolfpacker.com for only $1. We're part of the On3 Sports Network. That's the fastest growing college sports website network out there. And it's $1 for your first month right now. So I'd look into it if I were you. It's not going to get cheaper than that. $1 for your first month, and you'll get access to all of the cool premium conversations that we're going to allude to on this pod, because over the past month or so, Noah, we've talked to Dave Dorn, we've talked to Robert and I, we've talked to Tony Gibson, we've talked to some major voices at NC State who have shared some valuable intel with us and given us a ton of material for these season previews. And I mean, we're going to put it all on the Wolfpacker.com. So it's only $1 to get access to all of that information. We published our first attempt at a new depth chart last week. And so go check it out. It's $1, folks. We really appreciate it if you just give us a shot. I promise you won't be disappointed in the content. So go check it out on the Wolfpacker.com. All right, Noah, we are here today to talk about running backs. One of the more interesting position groups on NC State's roster, in my opinion, at least, just because of the overhaul and the talent that they brought in. Some, returning players who are promising, underclassmen. I'm of course talking about Kendrick Raphael here, but there's a lot of talent in this room. We spoke with NC State running backs coach Todd Goebel somewhat recently, and he gave us the rundown of the room. And man, it sounds like that it is an intense competition in the room right now. Noah, before we dive into kind of what the room looks like, how are you feeling about NC State's running back room overall heading into 2024?
I think it's in a good spot. You alluded to it, but it's got a veteran that is a proven in this league. Also got a young guy who also kind of proved himself in this league last year. And then you've got a mix of some guys that are back filling certain roles, and then a transfer who could be the wild card of this room, I think, coming in. Not too much college experience, but a lot of hype in North Carolina, out of high school. So it's a really fun group. I think it's going to be a room that's going to be talked about a lot this year. I think NC State overall will have a better running attack than it did last year. And these guys that are in this room right here are the big reason why, not having to rely on the legs of a quarterback like they did a year ago.
Yeah. So for some context, folks, NC State's top two leading rushers last season were not running backs. Brennan Armstrong rushed for 665 yards. Kevin Concepcion rushed for 320. True freshman Kendrick Raphael was the leading running back rusher with 309 yards. That is not ideal for any football program, and it's certainly not what NC State wants to see out of its rushing attack. This year, that will not be the case. I think we can say that pretty confidently. Last season, NC State averaged 4.3 yards per carry and relied heavily on the quarterback run game to make that happen. And I'd say the average was probably brought up a lot by some explosive rushes that Kevin Concepcion had throughout the season. So I think this year's going to look a lot different. It's just going to look different. It's going to feel different. It's probably going to feel a lot better for the Wolfpack staff and the fans as well, who want to see a little more balance out of the Pack's ground attack here. So Noah, let's dive into who left the room and who has arrived. You kind of hinted at it, but as far as departures, let's start there. Kendrick Raphael is still back, but when you go down the list of leading rushers, Delbert Mims III, he transferred. Michael Allen transferred, and Jordan Houston transferred after redshirting, after playing in a few games to start the season. So way, just a ton of turnover in that room, a ton of turnover. And Noah, who are they bringing in? Who are the new faces in NC State's running back room?
Yeah, I alluded to it, but Duke transfer Jordan Waters, a guy who's proven in this league, had a career year last year with the Blue Devils. We'll talk about more with him in a second. Outside of him, another transfer in Hollywood Smothers from Oklahoma, highly touted guy coming out of high school out of the Charlotte area. He's going to be a big guy to watch this year. And then two freshmen, Duke Scott and Isaiah Jones. NC State high on Duke Scott. I mean, on signing day's press conference, Dave Doran literally said the running back room had a lot of attrition last year. He said if Duke Scott was on this team last year, he would have played. That says a lot.
Yeah.
Now he joins a very deep room, and we'll see if he can break into the rotation. But he's really talented. NC State excited about that. So 3 out, 4 in is how this running back room was a little revamped over the offseason.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into each of those guys individually here as we kind of talk about the depth chart and what we're excited about, what we're concerned about in the room. But let's start with the two deep, man. You're going to see Jordan Waters, I think, be the starting running back. I think that we can say that pretty comfortably. I mean, he has 5 years of ACC experience. He is a proven playmaker. Last season, he rushed for 819 yards, averaging 5.4 yards per carry. That's just an efficient mark, right? That is the efficient mark that's going to keep NC State ahead of the chains. Something that we definitely noticed as the season went on is Robert Anae's offense with the Wolfpack looked really good when they stay ahead of the chains. That seems silly, but that's not always the case. I think back to 2 years ago where the Pack really struggled sometimes on like 3rd and short plays and stuff like that. With last year's offense, Robert Anae could usually draw up. I would keep the chains moving, get a first down. And Jordan Waters is going to be a huge part of keeping the Pack on schedule. At a minimum, I think he will be keeping the Pack on schedule. So, proven ACC player. He knows, the ACC super well. Arguably his best game last season was a 20 carry, 113-yard, 2-touchdown performance against UNC. I mean, heck, he went to Duke. He already hates North Carolina, so he should fit in really well at NC State. Noah, we both saw Jordan Waters in person when he played against NC State. Had quite a good game against the Wolfpack and that loss to the Blue Devils. From what you've seen, the conversations you've had with Jordan Waters, because we got to talk to him, earlier this year. What is your takeaway on the Wolfpack's newest running back?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is he brings the veteran experience to this room. He's been here, done that. I think another one of his best games of the year, total numbers wise, came against NC State. Obviously had a lot of carries, broke off a big, long touchdown run in Durham last year. But overall, I think he's a guy that brings a lot to this room. He can run the ball well. He can, do a lot off the field as well, leading this running back room. Because once he leaves, it's pretty young when you look at the guys who are playing this year outside of him. So that's going to be exciting as well. But overall, Jordan Waters, I don't think there would have been a better running back to go in the portal and get as running back one. He was a top 10 running back in the portal to begin with, and they went and got him and were able to secure him. So that helps a lot. And he didn't have to move far. 20 minutes down the road? Yeah, I mean, it's not far at all. So he is enjoying himself at NC State. I think he kind of admired him a little bit from afar, and now he gets to join him for his last year of college football, which, Ethan, if we're going to call an X factor this offense this year, he's going to be toward the top of that list.
Oh my gosh, man. I mean, you watch the spring game and he's, like I said earlier, he's going to keep the offense on schedule. I think he is at a minimum a consistent running back who isn't going to be, getting caught in the backfield a bunch. He's not going to be, he's decisive. He picks his hole and he goes. And if he gets to the second level, like, good luck. Like, you're not going to be able to tackle him. I mean, once he gets moving, he is a very hard running back to bring down. I totally agree. I think, like you said, best case scenario out of the transfer portal to bring someone in. There's a lot of talent in the running back room. We're going to talk about them shortly. But getting an experienced, proven veteran in Waters just for the 1 year before these underclassmen are really ready to shine, I think it's great. I think yeah, that was one of the biggest wins of the offseason for NC State. All right, let's go down the depth chart here a little bit. The next running back we want to talk about is Kendrick Raphael. In my opinion, he is the most likely to hold down that primary backup spot just because of how he excelled as a true freshman. He first emerged as, the Pack's most trusted pass blocking running back. Coach Goebel mentioned that when I talked to him. That was the edge he brought to the room, which is really interesting, Noah, because like if you watch his high school film, like they ran an option offense. Like I think he was like they had multiple running backs over like 1,500 yards or something like that his senior year. Like they had a lot of he wasn't like just standing next to the quarterback and shotgun and helping in pass protection all the time. Like this is something that he must have, put in the work independently. And Coach Cole talked about that. He just is a kid who works hard and was able to carve out that role early. He was a high 3-star prospect, so it's not like he was a super underrated recruit, but he's someone that I don't know. No, what did you think about Kendrick last year? I thought he definitely showed some flashes that should make Pack fans pretty excited.
Yeah, I was excited about him. A guy that, I got here a couple of games into the year a year ago, and when you look at what he did, he really broke onto the scene against VMI. Obviously, a 45-7 win, but 16 carries, 85 yards. That says a lot about a freshman back getting his first true taste of college football. It doesn't matter who they're playing. I mean, overall, he averaged 4.6 yards a carry, but some of these games he was playing, he had himself a day. Against Miami, the hometown team that he played against. 3 carries, 41 yards. He got a long touchdown run in that game. And then he did well against, Wake Forest as well, 15 carries, 52 yards. So he showed he can do it. And I think now having Jordan Waters with him along in the backfield, not having to be the guy, will help take a load off and keep him good for his sophomore year, because I think I'm going to call my shot now. Going into his junior year, it's going to be a big-time year for Kendrick Raphael, stepping in that spot that Jordan Waters is going to depart in. So it's going to be a good year for him to take some pressure off a little bit, have some fun, and learn from a guy like Jordan Waters, who, is not a bad guy to learn from.
Yeah, and then you just have to factor in he just has another year to mature. I mean that's a position where like physically like you are just taking a beating every single play you're on the field, and that's tough for a true freshman. I mean, especially when he was playing, his snap load was increasing more and more. In pass protection, he was having to block like 260-pound defensive linemen.
Yeah.
I mean, like physically, NC State asked a lot of Kendrick, and he did really, really well. Like I said, showed flashes that should make folks really encouraged. Someone that you alluded to as potentially an X factor, Noah, Hollywood Smothers. When I joined the beat 2 years ago, Hollywood was a hot topic because he was a priority recruit out of Charlotte, one of the top running backs in the country, an explosive playmaker, just a dynamic player overall. He went to Oklahoma for a year, picked them over NC State, Florida State, and Alabama. I believe it was his top 4. I mean, that top 4 should tell you enough, right? He's an elite recruit. He goes there and red shirts, plays in 4 games, took 11 carries for 42 yards. So modest workload as a true freshman, hits the portal. He's very close with Kevin Concepcion. As soon as he entered the portal, we were kind of like, oh, okay. Like this reunion's probably going to happen. It did. He came home. Coach Goebel referred to it as kind of taking the long way to NC State, but that's totally fine with him because now he has a dynamic playmaker, an explosive running back who I think could be the Pack's best receiving running back. That's something he showed a ton of ability at the high school level, and I think he'll do the same at the college level. Noah, where should Pack fans' expectations be for Hollywood going into his redshirt freshman season?
Yeah, I think they should be, decently high. Not I wouldn't say like outlandish high. I'm not going to say he's going to run for
Sure.
500 yards this year, but I think he's a guy that will impress when he's on the field. Don't know how often that will be in a game. Probably lining up as running back number 3 going into fall camp. But he's a guy that when he touches the ball, it's going to be a game-changing factor. And you mentioned it, right? When he went in the portal, everyone thought, all right, this is a guy that NC State could get. Well, it worked out. Dave DeWarren has really, talked about his recruiting department being split and keeping an eye on guys they think could go in the portal. And I think that he really qualified in that whole thing of if he goes in the portal, go get him. And that's what they did. Worked out well. Now that it had some solid depth for his redshirt freshman year. He's young too. People expect a lot out of him, but he's got a lot of room to grow in this offense as well. We talked about Kendrick learning, getting another year of maturity. Hollywood Smothers too. He could also push for that running back 1 spot next year, going into the 2025 year when that's all said and done. We'll see. There's a long way to go between now and then, but I definitely think he'll make his impact known pretty quickly when he's on the field.
Yeah, even if he, and to preface this, I'll say I think he will have a role in the backfield this fall. But even if he doesn't, he's someone that I could see as a kick returner being a game changer. Again, just super elusive, fast, explosive running back who, like you said, we're looking way ahead here. But if you go into 25 and you're looking at a 3-man competition between, Kendrick, Hollywood, and Duke Scott, the kid we're going to talk about next. I mean, holy crap! That's a talented room. That is a really talented room. There's a lot of reason to be excited about. All right, let's talk about Duke Scott. One of my favorite recruits, maybe even my favorite recruit, period, in the 2024 class. 4-star prospect out of Stockbridge, Georgia High. Just a real game changer, someone that NC State was really excited about, that they were able to secure his commitment. He held offers from, Miami, South Carolina, schools like that. So a solid Power 5 offer list. And Noah, I'm going to read you some of Duke Scott's stats here. You ready? 237 kills for 2,482 yards. That's 10.5 yards per carry. 39 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown. Wow. And he did so at the 4A level in Georgia. That's not a low level. Like that is quality competition. He was an underrated prospect. He wasn't a 4-star prospect, I believe, until basically signing day, because he was injured for most of his high school career up until his senior season, put together, a fully healthy senior year, and went off like he did, led his team to a state championship appearance. As you can see here, just super explosive, super elusive. I think skill set wise brings a lot of the same stuff that Hollywood brings, and he's on the shorter side. He's around 5'10", 5'11", but NC State already listed him at 212 pounds. So he's already been putting in the work in the weight room, and is a strong running back who should be able to, I think, get on the field early. Based on what the conversations I've had, I would be surprised if we do not see him at least play his maximum 4 allowed games in some sort of role. Noah, I mean, I know like you might not have followed his recruitment as close, but he's someone that we've talked a lot about. Duke Scott, do you think it's reasonable to expect he cracks the rotation as a freshman?
I think so. I think there's a chance, right? Especially if there's an injury in this room. Definitely, he's the guy to step into that role. But yeah, I don't see him burning a red shirt unless it's absolutely needed, right?
Yeah.
An injury happens to one of the top 3 backs, then you burn it and you let him roll. This is a guy that they've got high hopes for the future when it's his opportunity to be a primary back. But this year, I'd expect him to play 4 games. We'll see what he does, and I'm excited to watch him though for sure.
Yeah, he's someone that NC State really likes. I mean, that's another part of it. A kid that I've heard also is just he focuses on 2 things: football and school, and that's a way to endear yourself to the coaching staff. I would say, is it sounds like his first 7 months on campus have gone really, really well. So expectations really high for that guy. Super optimistic about what Duke Scott brings to the pack in the future, if not immediately. All right. We're going to dive into the second half of our show, give some reasons we're optimistic about the room and reasons why we're concerned. But before we do that, I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time is a ticket buying and selling marketplace. Whether you're looking for tickets to NC State's football season opener against Western Carolina, or Durham Bulls tickets is something to do in the Triangle this summer, or really any athletic event you could think of, they have it. So go check it out. It's the Game Time app on any app store or gametime.co on your web browser. It's not .com, that's .co. Noah, my favorite thing about the app when I use it is I'll pull up a Durham Bulls game if I need something to do on a Friday night, and you can look and see exactly the view from the seat you'd be purchasing it. I'll hold it up on my phone for those watching on YouTube. But look, if you bought those seats, you can see your view from your seat. It's nice. It takes a step out of the ticket buying process and just makes the fact that they already have the good deals. It's an easy to use app, and they just make it super convenient for you. So I'm a big fan of Game Time, and I highly recommend you go check it out on any app store or at gametime.co. And when you're checking out, use code Wolfpack, and that's all caps Wolfpack, by the way, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. So you could go to that Durham Bulls game for almost free if you wanted to. So go check it out on Game Time on any app store or at gametime.co. All right, Noah, let's be positive and negative over the next 5 minutes or so here. For each position group, as we go through this previews, we're each going to give one reason we're optimistic about the position group and one reason why there's cause for concern. Noah, we'll start with the positive first. Why are you optimistic about this running back room?
Because it's deep. It's got talent. And you're not going to have running back number one red shirt 4 games into the year. That's why I'm pretty optimistic. Last year, that's what they happened. They dealt with shorthanded room for most of the year. Some people got banged up. It just went downhill.
Yep.
Kevin Concepcion became a running back basically because they needed a game changer. Now they have that in Jordan Waters. They're going to ride him, but you also have Kendrick Raphael who proved he can do it. So I think the depth of this room is really, really good, and the fact that they can pretty much bank on these guys being available for 12 games during the regular season is big. And I think they're going to do a good job though of mixing the carries, so Jordan's not carrying the load the entire thing on himself, keeping him fresh for 12 games, but still having the depth behind him. And I think that's the biggest point where you're like, all right, this room, here's why we're excited about it.
Yeah. I think the depth is the clear number one answer. It's just something that NC State didn't have last year, and this year they do. We haven't even mentioned DeMarcus Jones, I don't think, but he's someone that played a lot last year and will factor into the rotation. And Jordan Poole, who switched from linebacker to sort of like a fullback type, H-back type of role. He'll be back in that role this season, and I think those are two guys that you'll see play a few snaps and they'll have valuable contributions to the team. So you have, 5 running backs that you could on the field at any given time. So yeah, depth is the number one reason. Totally agree. My reason for optimism is just going to be that they have a game changer. I think Jordan Waters is a clear difference maker, all ACC caliber running back who in Robert Anae's offense where everything's going to be super spread out. Robert Anae's going to get the ball in his hands in creative ways. Waters is a good receiving back. I think we'll see him used in the passing game a lot as well. I just think he's someone that we could look back on this year and be like, wow, he was the most important transfer addition, maybe outside of Grayson McCall, we'll say, that on this team, just because I think he could be the engine that makes this Wolfpack offense go. All right, let's turn concerned a little bit. Noah, is there anything to be concerned about this running backs room? I mean, I feel like we've been very optimistic today, but is there anything that it could be cause for concern?
There's too many guys. I mean,
only one.
That might be. I think you can go pessimistic and say there's too many guys, and splitting carries might be an issue. But I don't think that's gonna be a problem. I think Robert Anae knows what works. He figured it out last year. He'll obviously have some adjustments and tweaks to his offense, but they figured out what worked by the middle point of the year and ripped off 5 straight wins to end the season. So I wouldn't be too concerned, other than the fact that maybe too many guys, but I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much with you there. I think my only concern will be pass blocking. That is an area where NC State's running backs really struggled last year. Like to the point where your best pass blocking running back was Kendrick Raphael, a true freshman. you have to hope that that improves. We'll see. We'll see if they're asking Jordan Waters to do a lot of that. Is that a situation where we see Kendrick playing a lot of the snaps? How does are they bringing a Jordan Poole or DeMarcus Jones in to help out in that area? Um, that's going to be the main thing I'm going to keep an eye on this year. I think is just how they can assist in that on those third and longs where you need the extra blocker in there. I mean, it got to the point where they're having to get really creative with how they were adding that extra protection to the pocket, and obviously you don't want to do that. So overall, there's just a lot of reasons to be optimistic. I think it's going to be a good group. We're being nitpicky about reasons to be concerned. So yeah, I mean, hey, this should be the best running back room since the Zonovan Knight, Ricky Person Jr. backfield, and I think even has the potential to be better. So I think that's my take for the day, Noah. Is I think it could be even better. All right. To wrap up the show, we're going to answer a couple of listener questions. Our first one comes from Wolfpacker 85. Who is NC State's third down back, and how do you think they'll use Hollywood? All right, Noah, do you want to answer the first part first? Who's NC State's third down back?
Yeah, I really think this is a role that Kendrick Raphael could fill a little bit. Obviously Jordan Waters is going to be your primary back. He can also do it on third down, but I think they're going to mix him in and take the load off and make that a little Kendrick. Could see Hollywood Smothers though. Could see Hollywood Smothers in this role.
Yeah, I mean, third down back, I feel like it gets used in like two different ways. Some people use it in like all right, is it third and long, and you need someone to pass protect. You need someone that can go out of the backfield and make a play in the receiving game. I'll start off by saying I think Jordan Waters is just a complete running back, and I think he can be. I think he can play all three downs and be that guy and play as many snaps as you need. I think, like I hinted at earlier, Hollywood Smothers I think can be dynamic in the receiving game. I think Kendrick has the pass blocking chops to really contribute in that area. I think on a lot of third ends you'll just see Jordan Waters though. I think and as far as like a short yardage back, I feel like it's the other way people will use the third down back thing. I think that's Jordan Waters. I don't think you're going to have a situation where you can't have your starting running back in the game for third and one. Jordan Waters can go get you convert a third and one. In fact, I think he's more likely to get 4 yards when in the past the pack would be struggling to pick up that conversion. So I think he's someone that'll he can play every down until he's too tired to, or they have the luxury of rotating a bunch of talented backs into the backfield. As far as how they'll use Hollywood, we mentioned it, man. I think he could be a dynamic kick returner. So they're going to have to replace Julian Gray back there, and I think Hollywood has that dynamic after the catch, ball in his hands ability to be a really, really productive kick returner if they ask him to do that. I also think you have to just find ways to get him the ball in space, right, Noah? I mean, like you go turn on his high school tape. That's where he thrives. If you give him, he's hard to get a hold of once you get him in space. So as long as they find creative ways to use him, I think he'll have to have some sort of role because he's just that explosive. He's just that much of a special talent, in my opinion. It might not be immediately, but by the end of the he'll have a role in the rotation. I feel pretty comfortable saying. All right, now let's answer Ag Wolf's question, longtime subscriber to the Wolfpacker.com. How's the camaraderie among the group? Is there an open competition, or has a pecking order already been established? No, to answer the second part, absolutely not. When I talked to Todd Goebel, he really emphasized that it is a completely open competition. I'm going to read y'all a quote. We're talking about Jordan Waters, right? He said, when you have an older veteran who does it the right way, the younger guys get to see it visually, how it's done. But at the end of the day, it's a competitive world. Their job is to go replace him. The competition in the room all the way down, I'm really excited about. He mentioned competition pretty much every time I asked him a question. Like, he is really excited about how everyone is embracing competition. It sounds like they've welcomed Jordan Waters into the room, and everyone knows how, like, he's a proven veteran in the ACC, but no one's going to hand him that job, Noah, right? Like, I think it's pretty clear that this is a wide open competition.
For sure. I think it's definitely wide open competition. You have the amount of talent they have, the amount of skill, everything like interchangeable. We've talked about having all this depth. It makes Todd Goble's job easy and hard, knowing that whoever's out there will get the job done, but it's just a matter of who you want to put in it at what time. But yeah, open competition. I wouldn't say obviously Jordan Waters probably viewed as running back one just because of what he comes to NC State with and what he's done in the league, but don't be shocked if he's off the field for certain plays or on the field. Or it's going to be a thing that's very running back by committee, which is a good thing. You keep your backs fresh. You see this in the NFL. You see this with other successful teams. You don't want to run one back into the ground because by the end of the year, he's going to be tired. If you can keep them fresh, pays off dividends by postseason time. And NC State's got aspirations of making the 12-team playoff. Having a healthy running back is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the exact point I was going to make, man, because the college football season is longer than it ever has been. Like, it can potentially, if you go on a run to the national championship, you're playing a ton of football games, and you want running backs that are healthy, that are not, hampered by lingering injuries that time of the year. Because you're right, NC State has the aspirations to be playing in Charlotte for the ACC championship and then competing in the 12-team playoff. And you're looking at it in a way that, you can limit or moderate Jordan Waters' workload to the point where he's not worn out by the end of the season. It seemed like a lot of that offense really was last year. You could tell everyone was starting to hit a wall towards the end of the year, in that bowl game especially. So, yeah, man. I mean, I feel like for quarterback and running back, we've been very, very optimistic. There's just I understand that this is the time of year where you can really be optimistic about anything, but I think this could be the most improved unit on the team. So keep an eye on it. If I could be a fly on the wall at one of NC State's practices, I think it'd be cool to sit around and watch this running back competition, because it's going to be really, really interesting to see how the depth chart, how the snap distribution works out there. All right, folks. I think that's it for today's show, Noah. But thank you all for tuning in, watching on YouTube or streaming on any podcast platform. We will be back on Thursday for our wide receiver preview, another exciting group with a lot of turnover. Really excited to talk with Noah about the wide receivers this year. So make sure you check out your podcast feeds Thursday as well. We'll probably have that up in the early afternoon. But thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple of days.